that fear is going to live somatically in your body. It's going to be in your throat, your chest, your stomach, and your solar plexus. Locate that fear. What we normally do when we have that fear, then we distract in some way, whether that's sex, whether that's spending money, whether that's achieving in a different way, scrolling on social media, eating, whatever that is. We have avoidance strategies to avoid that sensation. But what I'm telling you to do, and is what is the most incredible tool that you can ever learn, is how to run towards that.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Thrive State Podcast. I am your host, Dr. V, triple board certified MD and performance and longevity expert. And on today's podcast, we discuss a very special technique for you to tap into you. That access to you is also the access to your potential, your health, your relationships, everything you create in this world. And this really has to do with nervous system regulation. When your nervous system is dysregulated, it means you're in a fear and stressful state. That's when you're in emotions like stress, worry, anxiety, fear, resentment, anger. And those emotions aren't very productive. They drive stress hormones in your body like cortisol. They drive up inflammation. It dampens your immune system. And so if you're going to be aware and have techniques to regulate your nervous system so you're back in the calm state, the state that is truly you, in your thrive state, you can tap into creativity, innovation, as well as the health and performance that you probably desire. So before we dive into the podcast, let me welcome everybody in. This is a place where every week I either get to share some of my insights or bring on thought leaders and experts from around the world on longevity, performance, relationships, and human potential to give you the tactics, the mindset shifts, the strategies for you to reach what I call the thrive state. It's really an energetic state of being. It's who you get to be, how you show up in the world. And that energy affects every single cell in your body, but also every relationship that you have. So it creates your reality. It creates your health. And if you want to get some free resources, please check out mythrivestate.com/biohack to access the digital version of me for free and ask your questions on performance, longevity, relationships, how to grow your brand, your business. It's got that information there. And you'll want additional free longevity and performance resources, go to thrivestatestarter.com. If you haven't already, pick up a copy of my book, Thrive State, at thrivestatebook.com. It's really going to give you the insights, the framework for you to reach what I call the thrive state. Now, if this podcast has given you value, please do us a favor. Subscribe to the podcast, give it 5 stars, give us a rating. It's really going to allow this show to grow. Now, on today's podcast, I bring in an expert in nervous system regulation. She's someone that you want to stay tuned in for the entire time, because at the end of the podcast, we give you a technique to access your power. Now, today's conversation is really about nervous system regulation, a topic that has the power not only to transform your stress response, but your ability to heal, your ability to thrive, and to become your best self. Today, I'm actually joined by Natalie Hummel, whose work in guiding people back to a balanced, resilient nervous system is very profound, but very practical. So together, we're going to explore why your nervous system is like the operating system for your entire life, how it gets dysregulated in our modern world, and most importantly, how you could retune it so that you can live with more calm, more clarity, and vitality. And make sure you stay to the very end, because Natalie shares a simple yet very powerful daily practice you could start using right now that could shift your baseline stress in just minutes a day. Now, before we dive in, if you're ready to optimize your own bioenergetic state and unlock your next level of performance and longevity, go to thrivestatestarter.com. That's where you can access a free starter kit and also access the digital version of me at mythrivestate.com/biohack. Again, if any of this stuff resonates with you, please subscribe to the podcast, share this episode with someone that you love. Remember always that you are your best medicine, and please enjoy this conversation with myself and Natalie Hummel. Natalie Hummel, welcome to the Thrive State Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
You may not be familiar, and I can't wait to dive into your work on nervous system. But before we do, there's a segment of the show called The Five to Thrive. 5 questions that come from the universe onto me, 1,000 points each. And if you win the 5 to Thrive, the next time we meet in person, a healthy meal on me. So my question to you is, are you ready to play the 5 to Thrive?
I'm ready.
What is your favorite memory as a child?
When I first saw a horse being jumped, like a horse was jumping, and I was like, oh my goodness, you can do that with a horse. And I just like ran outside and like ran to it and was like, I'm going to do that.
Do you remember how old you were?
I was 11.
11. Okay. Question number 2 is, what is one non-negotiable ritual or routine in your life?
Prayer.
Amazing. Question number 3 is, if I were to put you on stage with 50,000 people, handed you a mic to sing a karaoke song, what song would that be?
Thank God you're not doing. I have the worst voice ever. I go through periods of times where I just listen to basically things on loop. And right now I'm listening to the song Praise the Lord.
Oh.
And so I would just like, and it's this like hype song. So I would just be like getting everyone hyped, like, yeah, there's a reason. Like, thank you for my soul.
Oh, that's amazing. Question number 4 is, if you were trapped in an elevator for 5 hours and you could only have one thing from the outside world, not being your phone, what would that thing be?
Easy, a book.
And your favorite book?
Again, I cycle through things and I only read that thing for a while. But a book that I come back to religiously is 1,000 Names for Joy by Byron Katie.
Oh, I love Byron Katie. One of my favorite
Me too.
quotes was, I think, something like, life is simple. Everything happens for you, not to you, or something like that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And if you're suffering, you're arguing with reality.
That's it. We could do a whole podcast on that phrase right there. Question number 5 is, how would you like to be remembered?
With integrity and unconditional love.
Oh, you're my people. I love that. I can't wait to dive further in. We'll do the nervous system stuff, but I really want to tap into faith and that unconditional love part in the end. But it's, first of all, you won the 5 to Thrive.
I love to eat. I can't wait.
All right. Where are you based?
I am based between 2 places. Right now I'm in Costa Rica, and then I also spend time in Atlanta.
Oh, amazing. All right. So I'm really excited for this conversation because what you're doing with nervous system work, performance, that regulation in the nervous system is something people don't talk about very often. You know, people are always talking about strategy or metrics, but they forget about the thing that actually allows us to just fully be present and tap into something much, much greater. And so my question to you is, how did you go from being an athlete and an equestrian? I think you're the first equestrian on the Thrives Day podcast. How did that tap into your role, somatic mastery and performance coaching?
I think that I always say that I was really lucky that my ego and my nervous system patterns didn't get me very far. Because if I had been like Andre Agassi, or if I had been Tiger Woods, I would have never come to this work. I would have been like, great, I got what I wanted. I only thought I wanted to win. I didn't have any concept of self-mastery, self-actualization. And so for me, it's like one of my biggest blessings in my life that I wasn't successful from ego and from my nervous system's unconscious patterns, that those things really created an upper limit that wasn't in alignment with my desire to be an Olympic athlete. The upper limit was way lower. And so I just kept hitting it and kept hitting it. And no matter what I did, no matter the strategy I had, because I had the perfect strategy, no matter what coach, I had one of the best coaches I could have had at the time, it just didn't work for me. And so I had to start getting creative, and it really I mean, it took me on a very long winding path, but it took me to the nervous system. And there's a reason you have an upper limit, and there's a reason that you keep falling into patterns, and there's a reason why it never feels enough, and that you can't move past this upper limit. So for me, it started because I couldn't actualize my goals from my unconscious patterns. And I had to do a lot of deep work to work with my nervous system, work with my unconscious to elevate that upper level. And then, of course, on that path, it was such a blessing that I realized, oh, what I really want is I want self-mastery. I really don't need to. I mean, I want to win. I'm competitive still, and I love being around people and their greatness and allowing it to pull outside of mine. But what I'm really looking for is self-mastery.
That's beautiful. It seems like, I have a very similar story in terms of, wanting to hustle and, had this ego drive until that led me crashing down to getting disease in my body. Was there sort of like this wake up moment of, because I mean, nervous system mastery, one, I think it's a great technique, but it's really deeply, truly just understanding yourself and the things that you were talking about, that knowing we are unconditional love and having the faith that we've been loved so much by a power much greater that we can feel safe. But can you maybe talk about maybe this awakening process for you?
Yeah, it's one filled with, crisis and devastation. But my coach at the time was getting qualified for the Olympics, and we had to get the horses ready to, there's the athlete, and then there's the equestrian athlete, and the equestrian, the horse itself is a whole business of keeping them well and in a thrived state. And so the person that did that was in a different state. And so I was positioned with the job to take, my coach's best horses to go visit that vet to help them get in their thrive state. And there was a trailer accident, and not all of them died on the scene, but they eventually all died. And my coach's Olympic dreams blew up. And not only these animals that you have such an deep connection with, and really was probably my first teacher of unconditional love. Not only are you letting go of this Olympic dream that you've worked for your whole life, but you were letting go of these relationships that you have built and have so much connection to. So that was the first, like, wow, what am I doing? Like, why am I suffering so much? Like, life just feels like it's telling me, wake up, do something different than you're doing right now. And I had a lot of other wake up calls along the way, but that was like my, okay, I need to do something different. And then I started to go back I started in undergrad, and I had some opportunities, and I was still riding full time, but I had an opportunity to go to Spain and finish a semester there. And I went. And so my coach said, I'll keep your horses. I'll keep them ridden and competing. And then my horse died in competition with someone else riding it. And I was like, yeah, no, I can't ignore it. And I wasn't a spiritual person at the time. I had no faith, but I, thank God, read the signs. I was like, something needs to shift.
And what was the modality so can you, for anyone listening now, the term sort of nervous system work or somatic work is just starting to kind of creep into people's attention. Can you kind of give the broad landscape of what nervous system mastery really is?
How I frame it for people is attachment theory is really easy for people to understand. So you have these main attachments in your life that form connection, and then your system perceives connection as safety, physiological safety, emotional safety, physical safety. Your body and biology is wired to view connection as safety. And so we're meant to get reliable connection. We're meant to get reliable attunement, which means I see you, I acknowledge you, I understand your physical, emotional, and spiritual needs, and I meet them when needed. But for whatever reason, that connection gets threatened over time. Maybe your parents don't have capacity. Maybe you're in a war. For whatever reason, that attachment gets threatened, and it leaves this really deep, I'm not enough. I was meant to get that connection. I was meant to get that attunement. And now I've learned I don't get that for free. I have to work for that. I either have to do something on the negative side or the extreme positive side to get that attunement. And we don't care how we get it. We just want to be seen and to be heard and to be met. We have a deep longing for that. And for whatever reason, our culture, our society, our parents, they can't meet all those demands. And it leaves us with this way of outsourcing our safety to love, approval, and validation. And when you're outsourcing love, approval, and validation, it completely distorts your way of being in life. It distorts how you show up, what you're willing to do, if you're willing to fail, if you're willing to succeed. It creates this limit on our life when we're outsourcing our safety. And then it has very patterned behavioral responses also is the thing. So it's like a stimulus will happen, an output will happen. And then over time, a stimulus that's nowhere near the original stimulus will work to create the same output. And that's what you'll notice is that's where the word like self-sabotaging behaviors come in, or upper limits, or all of these things that people have probably heard about. But that's a nervous system pattern. That's a survival pattern within your system. And what I have found is when you meet it on the level of somatic, meaning sensation in your body, it's the quickest way to repattern that input output. And it also repatterns the thought loop that goes with it.
All right. Well, I would love to kind of like break it down a little bit for people to maybe understand. Now that you are kind of on the other side of, mastery, and I don't think we ever truly stop mastering ourselves, but can you bring up all instances in your childhood that built up whatever your defense mechanism was? And what were the things in life that triggered that? And then I'll dive into like, practically what happens with the trigger and how you deal with that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I kept noticing an upper limit in my life. Like, I don't know. I know you said you kind of came to this in the same way, that you found a limit, but I would notice that I was able to pretty much pick up anything as an athlete and be above average at it pretty quickly, like almost instantaneously. But then no matter how many hours and how much deliberate practice I put in, I stayed at the same level. And when I follow that, then that leaves a feeling inside of your system, inside of your body. And when I finally knew of the work and knew how to do that, I tracked it, and I brought all of my attention to this sensation, and I just presenced with it instead of trying to run from it, trying to get the right strategy away from it. I finally just sat with it and heard from it. And it was this deep misunderstanding that I could have good, but I couldn't have exceptional. And when I followed that all the way back, okay, where did I learn this? Where did this imprint get put into my body? And it comes from something that I witnessed and saw as a child, that my parents were wealthy. They worked really hard. They didn't come from money, but my dad built a business and became pretty wealthy. And then when he got almost to the exceptional level of wealth, he went bankrupt and started taking narcotics and pain pills. And I witnessed all of that as a kid. And our brains and our neuroception, it picks up on everything. It's just not very good at interpreting. It's like, okay, 1 + 1 = 2. Okay, when you get to it exceptional, something bad happens and it takes you back down. So then my nervous system wanted to protect me from having that painful experience again. And so it was putting an upper limit on my athletic ability. Yeah. So that's like very practical how that works. And then you have this deep unconscious misunderstanding that, okay, I can have good, but not exceptional, and that'll show up everywhere.
So how did it show up for you specifically in your athletic work? What were the thoughts and feelings that were associated when this trigger came up? Well, let's start there.
Well, I had to kind of retroactively do it, because it wasn't until I was getting my clinical PhD in psychology and then traveled down the nervous system and somatic to then I kind of retroactively looked back. So there wasn't a moment when I was like riding, but when I look back at my career, it looks like self-sabotaging myself in the sense that, okay, even if coaches weren't working, I would kind of gaslight myself and be like, no, this is the coach I should work with. Like, they have these credentials, they've gotten other people to there. Like, even though in reality, the evidence, I wasn't progressing, I wasn't getting better, but I would it felt familiar to have things to be good, but unexceptional, to like work, but not be right. And then like same thing in lessons, like I would be doing deliberate practice and it would be good, but it wouldn't be exceptional. And that just felt familiar. And I would keep myself through behaviors or just experiences that like, okay, that's good, but you're not getting anything more. And same with like the horses I chose, the people I chose to be around. It was that very familiar feeling of a little bit above average, but nothing more.
So let's now then talk about this work. So you're dealing with an athlete now, or, maybe somebody in business who just seems to be stuck at where they're at and they want to get better. But maybe we could use you as the example. When you started to do this work, what did it look like in terms of recognizing that you were at a limit? And practically, if we could share some steps of how you actually start to work with these feelings and repatterning and rewiring yourself.
Okay, totally. So this is where goals become so important to set. And I heard you on another podcast with another guest kind of explaining, you guys were also talking about why goals are important. And it's never about the goal. It's not the obtainment, but it's who you become in pursuit of. And if you don't have that North Star calling you forward, whatever it is, anything is a worthy pursuit. Anything. Don't let your ego get involved and say, oh, well, all I want to be is a teacher or all I want to be as a mother. Your desires are your intelligence. Actually, the root word of desire is from the Father. We don't have the perception to look and know how our desires is going to be a very important part of the contribution of the whole. But all we have to know is like, I have this dream, I have this desire, and to not belittle it. But right when you set that goal, when you say, okay, I want to be a mother, or for me, I want to be an Olympic athlete, you will notice all of your upper limits coming into play. You will notice the identity being wrapped in what the identity thinks you can achieve based off of familiar things. You will have a capacity for how much uncomfortability you are willing to sustain in the pursuit. And all of these things are a part of your nervous system, and all of them will block you from getting what you want. So the first thing is you have to set a goal, or you won't recognize where the essence of you, your desire, is not in congruency or cohesion with your unconscious or your nervous system. You'll start to see the discrepancies between what you're desiring and what you're capable of doing. And that will point you to the work. Fears will come up, feelings, sensations, thoughts will all come up that will sound and feel contradictory to your desire. And before doing the work, you'll believe it. You'll think, oh, this is me. This is truly my limitation. This is what I'm capable of doing. Like only Tom Brady, only these people that we idolize, that they have to be this special being to be able to do it. But what they have is they have capacity and tolerance for discomfort, and they know how to be with fear. They know how to be with their ego. And so your ego can come up with a feeling, a thought, or just an upper limit. And then okay, and we're telling you now, don't buy into that upper limit. Know that that's your time to expand your capacity, rewire your nervous system, create a new set point.
And so what would be, if somebody were to take on the practical strategy that you do, is there a signature process or a couple of them where you can start to notice it? And how do you start actually working with your body in that way to sort of retrain it?
Yeah. First of all, I want to just highlight this idea that your ability to sit with discomfort is directly related to how much you will obtain in this life. And so don't run from discomfort, run towards discomfort. And hopefully I can help you understand what that means, because we've all heard that, from Tony Robbins to David Goggins, everybody's kind of saying that, but what does that actually practically mean? And so if your listeners, this is what I would advise you to do. First of all, create a vision, create a goal that's calling you forward, that feels really intrinsic to yourself. Write that down. And then the next question you should write is, one fear I have around achieving this goal is, and then just stream of unconscious, just write it out. Just let it rip and see it all. And then it might feel like, oh, wow, this is new. This fear is new only to this big dream. But then the next question I want you to ask yourself is this familiar? Where did I learn this? That I couldn't have what I want, or that's too big for me. And if you sit and quiet long enough, you'll see a younger you where this imprint got made. And you'll understand the context of where 1 + 1 now equals 2. And then instead of believing that, what you're going to do is now that fear is going to live somatically in your body. It's going to be in your throat, your chest, your stomach, and your solar plexus. Locate that fear. And what we normally do when we have that fear, then we distract in some way, whether that's sex, whether that's spending money, whether that's achieving in a different way, scrolling on social media, eating, whatever that is. We have avoidance strategies to avoid that sensation. But what I'm telling you to do, and is what is the most incredible tool that you can ever learn, is how to run towards that.
I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. If you are, I just wanted to let you know, join our community. There's so many free resources and a great community of people that desire health, happiness, human potential, to have more in their life, more health, more energy. And when you have those two things together, you could create more happiness, more abundance, whether it be financial, romantic, all these things in your life. And if you're just starting out, you don't know where to go, just sign up for ThriveStateStarter.com, because in there you're going to get a bundle of information that includes a longevity ebook, a longevity and performance resource guide, lecture notes that come from my keynotes at Google, at Fortune 500 companies, all the insights in that keynote in lecture slide form given to you. And then finally, breathwork. I share 3 powerful breathwork exercises to access calm, which really gives you clarity and peace during the day, to access energy if you need to wake up and really motivate yourself, and finally a breathwork routine that you could do every single morning so that you could be very intentional with how you create that day. You can find all this stuff delivered free to your inbox at ThriveStateStarter.com. And our community is growing. If you want to be a part of a community of people that desire the Thrive State, that are really in Thrive State themselves, and help other people along with that, you could be a part of the community. You can get group coaching from me. We do breathwork sessions, meditation sessions, and you also get to drop in and participate in podcasts in the future. You could find more about the community at mythrivestate.com. That's mythrivestate.com. So check out those resources. You're not going to be disappointed, and please enjoy the remainder of this podcast.
And so that's going to be very uncomfortable, but that's totally okay. Expect that it's going to be uncomfortable. Expect that your mind is going to be with everything in it, because it's literally your survival mechanism saying this isn't safe, is going to want you to run away from that emotion. And if you can do this with a therapist or a coach, or you can try to coach yourself through it, and to stay present, you can even keep journaling. Okay, what does it feel like? And use felt sense words of buzzy, tight, numb. Use felt sense words, and then just set a timer for 90 seconds and see if you can just presence with that sensation. Because if you can long enough, it's like looking under the bed of a monster. There's no monster, you're okay. It's just sensation. And that sensation, unfortunately, has a patterned way of thinking, feeling, and then behaving. But if you presence with it, then you can change that thinking, feeling, and behaving. There'll be an opening to do something different. And that's what you're looking for. Then you presence with it, it integrates. And then from that place of wholeness, you can ask yourself, what's the next most intelligent step? What's the next right action? And if you keep doing that on a daily basis, those right actions are going to add up over time.
Yeah.
You'll also reprogram yourself on the way to it.
You know, as I do some of this work as well, I want to highlight the fact that if you're in it and you're constantly thinking about it, or those negative loops, you're still in it.
You're still in it.
Right. So that's not the feeling part. The feeling part is actually just to deeply sense that feeling, the up feeling, not the stories that are going on that are playing, correct?
That's so good. And that's why in this process, I have you journal the stories first, the fear, journal the stories. What goes with this? And then there's such an incredible difference between the stories, your mind replaying and looping, and felt sense experience of this. And if you're still looping, like you said, there hasn't been an integration of that felt sense. And neuroscience says you can actually integrate that feeling in 90 seconds as long as you're not in the story about it. So I recommend getting the story out. And if you're when you go to presence with it, if your mind is still looping, write it out. Don't let that live in the mind. Journal it, write it out. Or, of course, a therapist, a coach can help you. But if we're just speaking to the listeners and they want to try this, they want to get a quick feedback loop of how this works, your journal is a really good place to turn to.
Yeah. What does that moment of integration feel like? If somebody's there, they're sitting there, they're feeling what they're feeling. What are the next steps? Is it feeling it and then energetically, it just kind of dissolves, or what's the end point of that sense of, when you're trying to sense and feel it?
The input is you arrive and you're like, wow, this is everything I've been searching for. And I just created it in the last place I would look. I feel whole from presencing with unworthiness. I feel brave from presencing with fear. It's paradoxical. And what you're looking for, you keep trying to find in the outer and the next achievement or the next avoidance strategy or dopamine hit. And what you're looking for is in the last place you would look at, it's in presencing with that discomfort emotion. And you will feel and don't get discouraged if you don't feel like this the first time or the first 10 times. I'm pointing you to the North Star. You will feel a wholeness that you've been searching for. And then that's where the whole, rhetoric around manifestation of like attracts like, or don't need anything. And what is actually happening if you do this work, you're not bypassing anything. You don't have to think positive and only be in the state. You can use any negative emotion and sensation to bring you back to presence. And when you're in that presence of wholeness, for one, you're not an old nervous system pattern, but you start to be the energetic match for the thing that you are looking for.
Speaking my language there, speaking my language. So was it this work that brought you in to your faith? And when did your faith start to come in?
Almost immediately, this work turned spiritual. I mean, when I first presenced with that feeling of, oh my God, I feel unworthy. I feel, because my ego was confident, no one would have said, oh, she's not a confident person. My ego was very confident, but my unconscious had this deep sense of not enoughness.
Yeah.
And when I presenced with that not enoughness, and I felt this unconditional love that I didn't necessarily experience from my upbringing. And when I first felt that, I was like, wow, there is something out there. Who is the source of this unconditional love that I'm feeling? And then that led me down spirituality for a while. And just recently have I really gotten into faith and God and understand Jesus as my savior. But that took a while. That took a progression. For a while, it was just spirituality and frequency and love and source. And now I really feel this very deep connection to the Holy Spirit and to God.
Yeah. It's so funny that it all, I think, comes back down to that. When people seek health, when people seek longevity, when people seek peak performance, it's all the remembering that we are these divine souls deeply connected to the Creator, and that our life and each breath is a we get to. And if we could understand that wow, this is a gift. And yeah, there's challenges, but these challenges are our Creator allowing us to break another limit for ourselves, to find more love, to understand more love, to feel that. And man, if we could just recognize and remember that we are safe, loved, and connected, then our nervous system can just melt and we could just be who we're meant to be, which I think is, chosen and there's no mistakes, and there's no one person that's similar as everyone else, that we are all here to evolve and to elevate and to co-create this beautiful life that we get to live together.
It's heaven on earth.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Wow, my people.
Yeah, I want to touch on something that you just said. You said there are no mistakes. And I believe that with every soul, every cell of my body. I know that is true, that there are no mistakes and that life is happening for me. And I get to the point where almost when, people ask me about my childhood or people in self-development world, I almost don't find the language anymore because I know they want to hear about my trauma, and I know that they want to hear about how my parents did this wrong or this happened, and I just don't have the orientation to that anymore. I mean, I definitely had to go there, but I can see that it was just my nervous system's need for connection, and then my confusion that said, this love that you're giving me isn't the love that I'm wanting. I can see now perfectly that even through all the hardships of my childhood or my upbringing, there was so much love there, and God was still there, and there is no mistakes, and I have nothing but unconditional gratitude, just the amount of gratitude I have for my parents and my grandparents and the lineage and showing up. Like, I just cannot even relate to looking back there and speaking in from the lens of trauma anymore. I just don't see it that way. I don't see a mistake anymore. And sometimes that's hard when you're trying to tell your story and how you came to this work, because it does take an amount of suffering, but I now see that suffering as such a gift that I wouldn't change for anything. And that suffering brings you to a new level of unconditional love and oneness and togetherness. And I wouldn't change it for anything.
Yeah. I find it is helpful to sometimes talk about it, but certainly through the lens of coming through the other side, only so that people can not still be in the space of not fully recognizing this, understanding, oh, I was there too, and there was this muck, and to sort of meet them like, oh, okay, that's how you became that, and so. Yeah.
And using everything for you. Yes, I think the story is totally worth telling. Absolutely. And I run a lot of group programs and things, and I always tell them there's 3 phases to this. And like, I'm on the other side, but what phase you're in is unbelievably perfect as it is. Like, if you're feeling victimized, if you're feeling angry, if you're feeling unsafe and unprotected and unchosen, I went through that too. I totally felt that, and I didn't spiritually bypass that and just arrive here. Like, I went through those phases, but now I'm here.
And those are necessary phases as well. Like, the deep amount of gratitude I feel now is only because I've seen and I've felt the muck. And so it's so counterintuitive, but like, those things happen for us so that when we finally sense love, we know it. We
know it.
We have this sense of gratitude, and we can feel it deeper because of those things. And so if you're
because of the opposition,
you're feeling the muck, if you're feeling like, yes.
And don't be there
forever. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And don't. And I really hope people can hear this, because this is what I needed to know, because I was I'm more related back then to like a David Goggins, like, I'll get through it, like, and more rigidness about it. And and then I was like, okay, positive thinking. And then I just wanted to bypass that. I'm like, I'm not there anymore. Why would I go back? I'm not a victim. I don't want to blame anyone, But you have nervous system. That's why I love the lens of the nervous system. You have a nervous system that was wired for deep attachment. And when we don't get that, we suffer. But the suffering isn't the problem. The suffering is actually the vehicle to your expansion. And so anyone listening, just don't miss sitting in the suffering and feeling and actually processing it all. Don't bypass it with faith. Don't bypass it with spirituality or positive thinking. That is your greatest gift, that suffering. So sit with it. be with it, feel it.
You bring up David Goggins, and I wonder what your thought is. I mean, certainly motivational for a lot of people. You've got that motivational kind of hard-nosed coach. And then I also wonder if and I haven't heard him recently, but I remember him just beating himself up and calling him something not so good to motivate him. Mm-hmm. Whereas I truly feel if we could tap people back into who they are, that they are safe, that they're in love, that they're connected with that energy, I think is more sustainable and more expansive moving forward. I wonder what your thoughts are on that.
I'm so grateful you brought this question up because I've been thinking about this. And then I was even listening to one of your podcasts with a previous guest, and I just had this, I thought his story was beautiful, but I also had this thought, like, there's such a more beautiful, elegant way. I mean, all roads, I think, maybe lead to Rome, and it's more of your preference and your personality type. But when I meet people that indulge in the suffering, I'm like, no, that's not it either. You don't want to be avoidant and you don't want to be indulgent. And if you can get this felt sense of who you truly are, you don't need to be indulgent in the suffering. And it truly it becomes this like fullness of expression of life. And you don't need at some point all of the belittlement and the suffering to get you there. It becomes an imprint. It becomes a remembering, and you can walk yourself home to that. I recently did listen to David Goggins again because one of my clients, who actually is world number one in his sport, and he's just an amazing guy. He just has the codes of a champion within him so much, and it's just been activated, and it's beautiful to watch him in his process. But he was sending me like this David Goggins stuff, and he's like, I listen to this every morning. And, David Goggins was talking about how he had to just force upon this like physical suffering because suffering is life. And he had to like beat the weakness out of him. And I was like, I see what he's saying. I totally understand it. And I do think we find other levels through discomfort, but it doesn't always have to be through our physical limits. That's why somatic work is just like this beautiful opportunity, because you have emotions you want to avoid just as much as you have physical pain you want to avoid. And in fact, I would say we're more avoidant of emotional pain than we are physical pain. And so imagine you can just, instead of running your knees into the ground and starving yourself, and you can actually just sit with an emotion you don't want to feel, and you can gain that resiliency, that grit, that oneness that can pull you forward. And so I shared that with my client. I was like, I love this. And I feel like it resonates with you so much. And whenever I have you sit with an emotion, that's you doing this. Whenever I have you sit with that thing that you really don't want to feel, that fear, that disappointment, that letdown, that not enoughness, that's doing the same thing in a much more elegant, graceful way, I find.
Amazing. Before I ask my last question, how do people find you? I know you've got this great audio on your website as well.
Yeah, please go to my website, nataliehummelcoaching.com. I have a peak performance protocol on there, but what that really means is, and I actually kind of wanted to ask you what you meant by thrive state, is what that means is there's a place in your nervous system that is why that will have the best result for performance. And I get through it through feeling what you don't want to feel. So for your audience, when I was like walking you guys through that process, I have it on audio. Go download it. It's super helpful. My clients all love it and use it anywhere from having a trigger emotionally with their partner or getting ready to compete at the Olympics. So go download it, use it. It's extremely helpful and walks you through that process of using what you don't want to feel to bring you to peak performance, to bring you to consciousness, to self-mastery.
Beautiful.
But when you came up with the name Thrive State, did you have the idea of like the nervous system, or was it just like a wellness thing? What was your orientation to that?
It's definitely always morphed. And it was like when I did choose the name, I've evolved since I wrote my, but it really is the energy, the frequency. This energy, this frequency basically controls the biochemistry of our body. And basically the energy and frequency also matches whatever our nervous system is as well. So Thrive state is just this state of being of knowing that you are safe, that you are loved, that you're connected, that we get to in life. And this is who you are, that you are a gift connected to everything. And then from that place, you could do nothing, but you could also do everything. And also, it's the state, it's the nervous system state where your cells don't feel like they are in danger.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you are in this stress state, when we are in ego, we're basically giving the same messages to our cells that a saber-tooth tiger is attacking us. And so it'll turn on genes of inflammation. It'll turn off genes of immunity. And so that's basically what it is. So at the end of the day, it's all energy. And can we be conscious of where we are? Can we work on our nervous system so the choices that we make physically, how we sleep, how we eat, how we move, how we connect with people, where are our thoughts, where are those loops? Because energetically, the thoughts matches your energy as well.
Energy.
So it's everything's energetically connected. And so the thrive
everything.
Developing the consciousness and the awareness of, are you in this fear-based, protect yourself, egoic pattern, or are you coming back to yourself, the truth of your divinity connected to something much larger, the power of that, the power of this life is a gift. That is the thrive state.
That is the thrive state. Amen. And we didn't get to it in my story, but another reason I'm such a reflection of that, or outer manifestation of that, like at one point my body was so ill. I was so inflamed. I mean, I'd been an athlete my entire life, and randomly I had gained 40 pounds. My hair was falling out. I was just like holding on to so much inflammation. And the second that I got out of these survival states, I stopped looping in this stress, this unworthiness, this separation. I'm not going to say it fell off, but almost. Like it just, I don't have inflammation. That's just like not a part of my life anymore. Like bad sleep, inflammation, like my hair is so thick now. And all of that came from getting out of a survival state.
Absolutely. And so one, I think it's a beautiful gift that our Creator has given us all this love, this gift of life, and the gift of forgetting, so that we could become in these ego protective modes, and maybe the gift suffering, the gift of disease. I myself was a diabetic that, probably had hair that was falling out as well. But it's sort of like through that, as you start to remember, then because you're not going to know cold if you don't know hot.
No, hot.
Right? And so you don't know true love until these other things, and you don't truly know you until you've lived not you. And so what a beautiful gift the journey of life is. And so wherever you are in your journey, and if you happen to be stuck in a rut, just recognize it is a very important step to the awakening and the remembering. And, I can't
embrace it.
Everyone to feel that as well.
Yep. Embrace it. Embrace where you are. Embrace that forgetting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, final question to you, Natalie. It's been such an awesome conversation, but what has been your best medicine?
Unconditional love.
Ooh, yeah. It is. That transmutes everything. That is the power that will drive your businesses, your relationships, whatever performance you have. When you come to that place. Ooh.
When you come to that place. Yeah. And I've made a new commitment to myself in light of all of the current events. And I've spent so much time meditating on it, praying on it. And I don't know all the answers. I really don't. I'm not going to pretend that I do. But the answer that came so clearly to me is I am responsible for unconditional love, and there will be no outer stimulus that will make me move from that. This is my integrity. I know this to be true. I know that this is the highest power and the highest frequency, and I will never project that any other thing is my integrity. Like, this is my integrity, and no outer circumstance or stimulus or pressure will make me move from this. Two wrongs don't make a right. I will not think that that's anybody else's responsibility. I don't need life to be perfect for me to show up from this place. And so I've made that commitment to myself. I mean, of course, I'm imperfect and I will fail at it 1,000 times over, but I will never blame the circumstance on moving from this integrity of unconditional love.
Wow. Beautiful.
Thanks.
Natalie Hummel, thank you for being on the Thrive State podcast.
Thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Thrive State podcast. And if you're finding that this content is really helping you and your family members, please consider supporting our mission and our cause of elevating health, happiness, and human potential for people all over the world. You can do so by making sure that you have subscribed to this podcast, sharing it with your friends and family members, and leaving us a 5-star review wherever podcasts are heard. All these things are going to really help elevate the show and to give us the resources to continue to bring more content just like this to yourself as well as the people that you love. If you haven't already, you might want to consider joining our community. We actually have a community where people get to engage with me in group sessions where we do breathwork, meditation, where we do challenges together, really to be able to get us access to health, happiness, human potential, so that we could have longevity and performance in our life as well. You can check out our community at mythrivestate.com. That's mythrivestate.com. And if you haven't already, pick up a copy of my book, Thrive State. It really gives you all the tools, the pillars that you need to create a blueprint to control the energetics of your life. Who are you? How you show up in the world? The choices that you consistently make create an energy in your body, and you can control this. And when you can control that, you also control the messages you give to your DNA that gives you access, again, to optimal health, longevity, and peak performance. And let me also just share a free gift to you. If you haven't already, please pick up my longevity and performance bundle where I share lecture notes, ebooks, breathwork exercises, and longevity and performance resources at thrivestatestarter.com. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. Thank you for helping us grow. Remember always, my friends, that you are your best medicine.